The wind moved like a restless spirit across the prairie, bending the tall golden grass in slow waves beneath the fading light of evening. Eleanor Whitmore stood at the edge of the dusty road with a single worn suitcase at her feet, and a carpetbag filled with schoolbooks clutched tightly in her hand. The little schoolhouse behind her was already locked, its windows dark, its future uncertain, much like her own. Winter was only weeks away, and she had nowhere left to go. She had come west with hope stitched into every seam of her modest dresses. A teacher was always needed, they had said. A woman with patience, discipline, and a good heart would find work anywhere. But when the town's funding dried up and the school board dissolved into arguments and debts, Eleanor found herself dismissed with apologies and a few silver coins that would not last the month. The sky darkened further, clouds heavy with the promise of cold rain. She had been walking for nearly an hour when she heard it, the distant thunder of hooves. Instinctively, she stepped aside, dust swirling around her boots. The rider approached at a steady pace. He was broad-shouldered, sitting tall in the saddle as though the horse were merely an extension of him. His hat was black, pulled low against the wind. Even from a distance, there was something unmistakable about him. Authority, perhaps, or confidence worn like a second skin. He slowed as he reached her, studying her without speaking at first. His gaze dropped briefly to her suitcase, then to the darkening sky. "You'll not make it far on foot tonight," he said, his voice deep but not unkind. Eleanor straightened, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "I intend to try, sir." He looked toward the horizon. "Storm's coming. I've endured worse." Something in her tone made him shift slightly in the saddle. "Where are you headed?" She hesitated. Pride warred with honesty. "I haven't decided." He nodded once, as though that confirmed something he had already suspected. "Name's Caleb Turner." The name meant something. Even she, new as she was to the territory, had heard it whispered in town. The Turner Ranch stretched miles beyond the eastern ridge. Cattle, land, influence, he possessed all three in abundance. "Eleanor Whitmore," she replied, "you're the schoolteacher." "I was." The silence between them thickened with the wind. Then he made a decision. "Get on," he said simply, extending a hand. Her eyes widened. "I beg your pardon." "You can ride behind me to the ranch. Storm'll hit before you reach the next settlement." "I couldn't impose." "It's not an imposition." Lightning flickered in the distance, followed by a low rumble. He did not withdraw his hand. Pride had kept her upright thus far, but practicality finally overruled it. She took his hand. His grip was firm and warm, steadying her as he lifted her up behind him. The horse shifted but did not protest. They rode in silence at first. She was careful not to press too close, though the wind and uneven ground made distance difficult. The scent of leather and cedar clung to him. He rode with certainty, guiding them along a path that only someone who knew the land intimately could navigate in failing light. The rain began just as the ranch house came into view. It was larger than she had imagined. 2 stories, wide porches, windows, glowing with lamplight. A barn stood nearby, along with several smaller buildings. Even through the curtain of rain, it radiated solidity security. He dismounted first, then helped her down. "You'll stay the night," he said, as though it were settled. "I can't, you can." The front door opened before they reached it. 2 small figures stood framed in light. Boys, one perhaps 8, the other no more than 5. They watched their father with solemn curiosity. "Pa." The older one called. Inside, Jacob. Caleb replied gently. The younger boy clung to his brother's sleeve but did not look away from Eleanor. She felt suddenly exposed, aware of her damp dress and travel-worn appearance. Inside, the house was warm, the air thick with the comforting scent of stew and burning wood. A housekeeper, gray, haired and sharp-eyed, appeared from the kitchen, surprised. flickering across her face at the sight of Eleanor. "This is Miss Whitmore," Caleb said. "She'll be staying the night." The housekeeper nodded slowly. "I'll prepare a room." Eleanor murmured her thanks, feeling as though she had stepped into a world far removed from the fragile uncertainty she had left behind. Dinner was quiet. The boys stared openly at her. Jacob, the elder, studied her as though assessing a problem. The younger one, Samuel, she learned, offered shy glances and small smiles. "You're a teacher?" Jacob asked abruptly. "I am," she replied, "or I was." "Can you read anything?" "I should hope so." He frowned, clearly unimpressed by humor. Samuel giggled. Later, when the boys had been sent upstairs, Caleb remained at the table. The storm battered the windows. "You've nowhere to go," he said plainly. She stiffened. "I will find something. Winter's near. I'm aware." He leaned back slightly, studying her in the lamplight. There was no cruelty in his gaze, only consideration. "My boys need a mother," he said at last. The words hung in the air. She blinked. "I'm sorry. They lost theirs 3 years ago. Fever." His jaw tightened briefly before smoothing again. "They need someone steady." "Kind," she swallowed. "I am sorry for your loss. But I fail to see—" "You need shelter," he interrupted gently. "I need a loving mother for my sons." The simplicity of it stunned her. "You're proposing marriage," she said slowly. "I am." Audacity of it stole her breath. They had known each other scarcely an evening. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." "Town speaks well of you. You've patience. You stayed late at the schoolhouse long after others gave up." "That is hardly grounds for matrimony. It's grounds for trust." She rose from the table, pacing slightly. "Marriage is not a business arrangement. It's responsibility." He replied evenly. "It's stability. And love." She challenged softly. His expression shifted. "Just a flicker. Love can grow." The storm roared outside, mirroring the chaos inside her thoughts. "I will not be pitied into marriage," she said. "Finally, it's not pity." "Then what is it?" "It's an offer," he answered. "You'd have your own room until you decide otherwise. The boys would have guidance. You'd have a home. No one would question your respectability." She turned toward the window, watching rain streak down the glass. All her life, she had believed love would arrive in a blaze of certainty, not in a practical proposal spoken over cooling stew. "I cannot answer tonight," she whispered. "I don't expect you to." The days that followed unfolded with unexpected gentleness. She remained at the ranch, under the guise of temporary employment, helping with the boys' lessons. Jacob tested her at every turn, but Samuel attached himself to her skirts like a shadow. Caleb kept a respectful distance. He rose before dawn, returned at dusk, his presence filling the house even when he spoke little. She observed him quietly, the way he listened when Jacob spoke, the way he carried Samuel when the boy fell asleep by the fire, the grief he never mentioned but never quite concealed. One afternoon she found Jacob alone in the barn, frustration etched across his young face. "She won't come back," he muttered when he noticed her. "Who won't?" "Ma." Her heart tightened. She crouched beside him. "No," she said gently, "she won't." He blinked rapidly, anger and sorrow battling within him. "Pa thinks we need a new one. Do you?" He looked away. "I'm not here to replace anyone," she said softly. "No one could." He considered this. That night, Caleb found her on the porch, watching the sunset bleed across the horizon. "They're growing fond of you," he said. She smiled faintly. "They are remarkable boys. They are stubborn. So is their father." A rare smile touched his lips. Silence settled comfortably between them. "Why did you come west?" he asked. "To build something of my own." She replied, "Back east, I was merely someone's daughter, someone's obligation. And here, I was a teacher." She said quietly, "It mattered." He nodded. "I won't force your decision," he said after a moment, "but know this. If you choose to leave, I'll see you safely to wherever you wish to go." The sincerity in his voice unraveled something inside her. Weeks passed. The first frost silvered the grass each morning. She found herself laughing more, teaching at the kitchen table, reading stories by the fire. The house no longer felt borrowed. One evening, Samuel climbed into her lap uninvited and fell asleep against her shoulder. She looked up to find Caleb watching from across the room. There was no pressure in his gaze now, only hope. She carried the boy upstairs, tucking him into bed with careful tenderness. When she returned, Caleb stood near the hearth. "I cannot promise you the kind of love found in novels," he said quietly, "but I can promise loyalty, respect, partnership." She stepped closer. "And if love never comes," she asked. "It will," he said, with more certainty than before. "Maybe not as thunder, maybe as sunrise." She studied him, the strength in his posture, the vulnerability he rarely allowed to surface. "I never imagined my life unfolding this way," she admitted. "Neither did I." The fire crackled softly. "I will marry you," she said at last. The relief in his eyes was not triumphant. It was profound. Their wedding was small. The town gathered, whispers transforming into warm approval. Jacob stood stiffly beside his father. Samuel beamed openly. When Caleb placed the ring upon her finger, his hand trembled just slightly. Life did not transform overnight. There were awkward moments, hesitations, separate rooms at first, as promised, but love, as he had predicted, arrived quietly, in shared laughter over burnt biscuits, in the way he sought her opinion before making decisions, in Jacob's gradual trust, in Samuel's unguarded affection. Winter settled hard upon the prairie, but inside the Turner ranch warmth flourished. One night, months later, she stood once more on porch, snow blanketing the land in silver stillness. Caleb joined her, draping a blanket around her shoulders. "You're part of us now," he said softly. She looked toward the dark horizon, remembering the night she had stood alone with a suitcase and uncertainty. "I needed shelter," she said, "and I needed a loving mother for my sons." She turned toward him, her heart steady and sure. "What we found," she whispered, "was far more." He kissed her then, not with urgency, but with reverence. And inside the house, two boys slept peacefully, secure in the knowledge that love had come home to stay.